Welcome to Play Paul's Turn. In this podcast, we discuss all things to do with TV, films, games and literature. We give our thoughts on the media we've been enjoying, old or new, and comment on anything topical. Hi, I'm John, and I'm joined by Alex, Bobby and Mark. Hello, gentlemen.
Hello there.
Hello. I didn't know
John.
if that was rhetorical.
Do you know what?
So long.
It's been a long time, chaps. It's been a very long time. Too long. We've all had very busy Decembers, Januaries and Februaries. Although I know Bobby has been extremely busy with his podcast, Tailoring Talk, which you can listen to in all good podcast catchers.
Speaking
drink.
And
there's
a lot of tailoring fans out there having a nice, I don't know, port and lemon, whatever they drink. We are going to talk about Ant-Man Quantumania. But before we do that, I just want to say, how are you, gents? It's been a long time. Everyone all right?
Yeah, I was feeling okay, and then I saw that Bobby was speaking to a 6-foot blonde model, and I got felt even more depressed with the January blues. So, but other than that, I'm fine. There we go. So yeah.
And is Carolina aware of this? Probably.
She's loosely, I don't know, but the thing is now I think we just published episode 89 of Tailoring Talk and she's still at about 32. So I figure that I've got about a year and a half before I get beaten up.
Well, yeah. Well, you can prepare for that, can't you?
Yeah.
Put your special spanking suit on. How are you, Alex? You all right?
Yeah, I'm well, thank you. Busy as usual, but I'm good and very glad that it was starting to have evenings again. This has been a dark, cold, long winter.
Yes. Yes, the cost of living is going down for us now because we've put the heating on less, which is good. Now we can afford to turn on our computers and record a podcast with the spare energy, so that's good.
Exactly.
So we, as I mentioned, we're going to be discussing Ant-Man Quantumania. And if you are listening to this and haven't seen the film, I shouldn't have to say this, but pause, go and watch the film, enjoy it, and then come back and listen to us spoil it. We're going to start off, before we do any spoilers, by giving our one-word review or one-word opinion of Ant-Man Quantumania. If you break this rule, there is a forfeit. And this week's forfeit is you have to do your best Paul Rudd impersonation if you say more than one word. So start with Alex. Alex, what's your one-word opinion of Ant-Man Quantumania?
My word, it's really hard doing one word. Kaleidoscope.
Ooh, Kaleidoscope.
And not the
Okay.
Netflix TV series.
Oh, I need to watch that. You've just reminded me. Bobby, how about you? One-word review or one-word opinion of Ant-Man Quantumania?
McDonald's.
McDonald's. Okay. Why? You can't say why, can you? Otherwise you forfeit.
No,
that.
because otherwise I forfeit.
Yeah, okay. Thank you for that. Mark, how about you? What's your one-word opinion of Quantumania?
I'm gonna say deja vu, which I hope
Right,
is
that was about 5 or 6 words.
which I hope is one word.
No, you've said I'm going to say deja
It
vu.
really
So
is.
can you give us your best Paul Rudd impersonation now, please, Mark?
Oh God.
No.
No, I can't. I'm sorry, you've done me there. I can't do a Paul Rudd impression.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
My one-word review is blobby.
Right. Yes.
Blobby.
Oh, I should have said holes. Actually, never mind.
Holes.
You should have said holes. Yeah.
Yes.
But remember, this is a clean podcast, Mark. So don't
Yes,
elaborate,
indeed.
please. Okay.
That was.
So
yes.
we're gonna pick apart the film. I think before we make any actual opinions on how we felt about it, because it'd be quite nice to sort of leave it and see how we feel at the end. Let's break down some of the main elements of it. So let's look at the visual design first of all. Marvel films are known for their visuals. So Alex, what was your thoughts on visual design on this one? I mean, we'll eventually come and see it on our TVs as well, won't we, when it hits Disney Plus? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it was, as you'd expect, it was sort of fantastical CGI. So it was every form of colour of the rainbow jammed into something that didn't feel in any way real or particularly consequential because of that. But it was just so pretty that you could forgive a lot of that, and I think it's going to look really good on my TV when it comes out on Disney, because I've just got the I've just got an LED strip that goes around the back and mirrors what's on the TV, and so it's going to be like washes of colour. It's going to be lovely, but yeah. So that's my thoughts on visual design.
Okay. So Alex's thoughts are, how good will it look on his own TV? That's interesting.
It's going to be nice.
Bobby, how about you?
Visually, it was stunning. I thought the CGI was excellent, and it was particularly nice after all the criticism that VFX artists have been getting in Hollywood, particularly the Disney ones. For various bits of work that people didn't deem was great.
Well, Love and Thunder,
She-Hulk, and bits of Thor: Love and Thunder. So overall, it did look stunning, and for the most part, it was pretty flawless as far as I was concerned. But we'll talk about the not most part, I'm sure, at some point.
Mark, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, I can't really add much more than the boys have said. I thought it looked really good, as the boys said. A lot of care and attention, a lot of effort went into it as well. I thought actually some of the designs were probably the most different, the most unique they've done for a long time as well. We had the Broccoli Man, for example, and I talked about the Holes guy, who I'm sure we'll get into that as well. I thought some of the character designs actually were quite good and quite different for a change. But yeah, it looked good. It's what you expect with a Marvel film. So I thought it looked good. Yeah.
I mean, I think I got some Valerian vibes out of this. You know, the Valerian and 1,000 Planets. I got, just because it was such a rich, diverse group of characters. I mean, the Broccoli guy could have been like Groot's cousin, couldn't he? Really, it kind of struck me as kind of
I guess
Groot relative. Yeah, I thought I'm with you. I thought the VFX design team did a very good job. I also quite like the costume design in it, because a lot of the characters that you see might have had CG elements, but there was a lot of really amazing costume work going on. And some of the kind of the rebel group. I mean, it's kind of a Star Wars themed plot here with the rebels and the bad guy. I thought they looked a bit like almost like Sand People or sort of Dune Raiders in some of their outfits. So there was definitely kind of a sci-fi vibe to it. But if we all probably sat for the final credits and the end credit scenes, which we'll talk about at the end of the podcast. But I did sit there and notice, I would say there was at least 8 different VFX companies that were involved in the film, with hundreds and hundreds of names as a VFX artists. I don't think I've seen, I mean, I presume there's just as many for Avatar, just so many names on the scrolling credits. So the work that's done on that, I mean, it's amazing stuff. So yeah, really good. Okay.
Just just a very quick side note. Just a quick side note. The way they filmed this was how they did it on the Mandalorian. You know that new screen they've got, the screen
Volume.
The 360 thing?
Volume.
Is it what it's called, is it? Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was filmed like that. So that's how they did it. So, yeah.
So they had more. I mean, I listened to Michael Douglas's interview on the Kermode and Mayo's Extra Text podcast. And bless him, Michael Douglas is getting quite old now. His speech is slightly more slurred, isn't it, when he speaks? I think he was talking about the volume and saying how he enjoys working on the film because he knows the actors. They're a bunch of friends now. But he said it was quite nice for a change, as you say, having a bit more in terms of reference points to act to rather than a green screen. But he also said that a lot of the flooring, just like The Mandalorian, the flooring was all real, but it was just the backgrounds that were more made up. But you start to wonder how many films in the future are going to be made like that. Even just standard films might start using the volume. Really interesting. Let's talk about the plot. I think we might have a slightly different discussion here. Let's go in reverse order this time. Mark, what were your thoughts on the plot and the general story?
I
think before you start, Mark, let's look at the plot at the moment as it is with this film, and then we can expand as how it connects to the other films.
Yeah. No, that's fine. Yeah. So this is the first film to launch Phase 5, and I thought this would be a bit different and a bit edgy with a new villain. And the problem for me is I just felt like I'd seen it all before a bit, and there wasn't anything of real surprise in there. This is the family sort of franchise in the MCU. This is the more family-friendly one. So I was a little bit surprised they used Ant-Man to start it, really, to be honest, with the stakes supposedly in this one. But for me, it was fine, but it was just far too obvious, far too generic, and just a bit the same old. I have to say, I don't normally feel that after a Marvel film, but after this one, I did feel like I'd seen it all before a bit, unfortunately.
How about you, Bobby?
Yeah, I mean, the plot was fine insofar as I could actually follow it and sort of understand what was going on, but I think they just missed some opportunities to really take some big risks with this and, possibly kill a couple characters off, because I thought, there were no consequences to what Janet had done. I thought that story would sort of come full circle and that she would have to sacrifice herself or something, which, whilst you never want to see Michelle Pfeiffer out of a franchise, it would have been a fitting end for the character. At one point I thought Hank was going to get it. Michael Douglas's character didn't happen. Obviously, we had that great sort of third act with the big fight between Kang and Scott, and I thought that Scott was going to get it, and that didn't happen either. So it seems that Marvel have kind of got their sort of formula. They're kind of diving a bit more sort of family friendly. I don't know. I think Thanos was such a compelling villain. The way that he was set up, the way he was introduced, the way that his justification for what he was doing, you could, half of you was on his side because you could kind of see his reasoning. Whereas with Kang, I know that there was the big setup in Loki, and he gave that very low-key monologue that I fell asleep through, explaining about the different variants and, basically reciting the entire plot line of Jet Li's The One. But he's not as, I don't know, he's just not as, it's like with Thanos, you love him and you hate him. Well, you don't love him, but you sympathise with him and you hate him equally at the same time. And there's this constant push-pull, whereas there's not that, they've not given that same... And the other thing as well is that given how he was defeated, I thought Kang was this all-conquering, you can't defeat him sort of villain that they're going to have to bring all the Avengers for, and they managed to kind of outwit him in a way. And so, yeah, it was just... I don't know. It's not a film that I liked it, but it's not a film I'm ever going to have any desire to see again. It's a bit like, the reason I said McDonald's is because Marvel films are becoming, post Endgame, are becoming very fast food. You go to a Michelin star restaurant. Generally, if it's a good experience, you remember what you had. You want to talk to it about it with your friends afterwards. And with McDonald's, I'm never going to tell you about the double bacon and egg muffin, no cheese that I had this morning for breakfast. That's true, by the way. Carolina doesn't listen to this podcast. She'll never find out. Or the Big Mac that I had last week, right? I'm not going to talk to you guys about it. And it's kind of the same with this film. The only reason I'm talking about it right now is because of this podcast. But otherwise, I've not spoken to anyone else about this film. And it's a real shame. I just feel like there's an opportunity here as well, because I am very excited about the Flash trailer. There's an opportunity for DC, especially with James Gunn at the helm, to take advantage of this, what I personally think is a decline in Marvel standards, and really sort of start to hit it out of the park with whatever it is that Gunn has got planned for the DC universe. But it's just disappointing, and I don't know, again, if it's just Marvel fatigue setting in. Woe betide anyone that hasn't seen Loki, because I think you needed to have seen that to have had some more colour and depth to this whole multiverse, Kang and his multiple variants concept and so on. If you hadn't seen that, you wouldn't really have known Kang's motivations just from this film on its own. And I don't know. I'm just getting so indifferent to. I only went to see this because I knew we would be reviewing it, and it wasn't even so much to review it with you guys. It was so that I could hang out with you again, because we haven't recorded together for so long. And when I have to say that about a film, that makes it a disappointment. At the same time, I don't want to take anything away from all the hard work that's gone into it, because, so I did like it, but it's, I'm not going to be buying it on digital download or whatever. Sorry.
Do you have anything to follow up on that, Alex?
I think, yeah, my thoughts. So summing this up, this was a film that was meant to set up lots of things, but had surprisingly little consequence. So no one really, no one died when they perhaps should have. People were introduced that weren't really necessary. And one of the things that's frustrating is it's meant to set up how foreboding and how much of a threat Kang the Conqueror is, and we really skirted around it, and the way that it ended didn't show that as a real threat. And they must have known that, because in his epilogue at the end, he actually says, is everything all right now? Oh, maybe it's not. And it's like, you wouldn't have needed that if you'd have made some changes in the third act. And then it would have been a lot more of a cliffhanger, and it would have been a lot more of an excitement piece. But it wasn't bad. It was enjoyable to watch. It was just, I think you have to go in with low expectations and expect that.
Well, you shouldn't have to, though.
You're right, but I think you kind of need to with a film that is set solely in the quantum universe, quantum, and I think that's the problem, is because it's all CGI, and it's really not solely about Ant-Man. There was a lot more Ant-Man this time, which was good, but it wasn't really about him. It was more about Janet and Kang, and anyone who had a bingo card that says, saves everyone by ants, because it's Ant-Man, obviously, that, they would have been drinking for that. So it wasn't, there was nothing surprising about it.
This was it's funny you should say that, Alex. This is the first of the Ant-Man films that wasn't co-written by Paul Rudd. So strangely, It wasn't the centre of the story.
No.
I mean, I think Ants did save the day, because so help me out here, Mark. Right, so I thought it was, as you've all said, I thought it was fine. I thought I wasn't bored, but I wasn't emotionally impacted by the film like I have been with some recent TV series. I thought most of the characters were pretty two-dimensional. I mean, there was one character, the sort of the Queen, leader of the rebels, who was quite an interesting-looking character, but who was she? No one knows. Where did she come from? What her nothing. There was no motivations there at all. So the only real deep dive was Janet and her backstory, which was okay. It was interesting, made sense. She had been there for 30 years. So they gave her a bit of a background while she was in the quantum universe. But actually having heard Bobby talk about McDonald's, I would describe this as one of those sort of quick, not the biggest one you go to a theme park, but one of the mid to low level roller coaster rides that you get on and go, right, I want to go on the bigger one now. It just felt, it was fine, accomplished, but fairly forgettable, which is a shame. I think the Marvel, with perhaps the exception of I loved Shang-Chi, I think Marvel are really struggling post Endgame, aren't they, at the moment? And I wonder if perhaps they are aware of that and are setting something up. I don't know how they're going to get to that sort of high point of Endgame and Infinity War, but we'll have to see how that goes. What did you think of the actors in this film? I'll start by saying I thought Jonathan Majors gave quite a nice subtle performance, which kind of mirrored his monologue that you were talking about, Bobby. I quite liked him being a bit less screamy shouty until he was screaming shouty. What did you feel, Alex? What were your thoughts on the actors in this film?
Yeah, I thought he was very good. Again, a bit quiet. You could tell, like, there's little touches of like when he said he would like destroy people from time or something. I can't remember what the exact quote was, and it was like, oh, there's a bit of spice there, but a lot of it was him monologuing and not actually showing all of the things he could do, but just talking about it.
Was his, so help me out here, I might be able to chip in, was the suit the thing that gave him the power?
No, the power in the suit is derived from the spacecraft that he crashes in as well. So what happens is that when they restore the power supply, they're able to replenish his suit, which the suit gives him the power to conquer the quantum
realm.
But what Janet does is that she enlarges the reactor, so she destroys the reactor, so he can't get out of the quantum zone via the ship. But she leaves him with enough power for the suit.
So the quantum motor thing is the MacGuffin that they all chase.
Yes, yeah.
But near the end, he gets, basically there's a riot of ants that sort of jump onto him and sort of scratch at him and remove his suit. And I think you were saying to me earlier on, that's how he became conquerable, because he suddenly lost his mojo from not having his suit. Did you feel that perhaps the trailer misled us a bit? Because I kind of assumed a bit like Doctor Strange, we were going to see lots of different universes in this, and lots of different Kangs popping in, which you kind of see in the the end credit scenes or the epilogue. Anyway, I've gone off the point here. Any other actors, Alex? Or should we?
Yeah, Janet. I thought that Michelle Pfeiffer's Janet was actually really good. So I thought there's some real problems with like some of her character. So like basically, what she should have said is, actually, I met this guy in the quantum realm, and we hooked up, and then he turned out to be evil, right? Because that happens a lot, so that's quite common. And that's why I never mentioned it. And actually, that was kind of really skirted over, and there was that really awkward moment where we had Hank mentioning that he saw someone a bit, and it was just like, why?
Yeah, that wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was just but also
they were swung for a bit, basically.
Yeah, and they were so throwaway, whereas actually, again, that could have been really interesting, and he could have been like, she could have been the foil for him, and just kind of bring him back up to his power, and then realise what she's done. But really, they skirted all over that, and they didn't
Ant-Man
really...
for the other woman. Is that what you're saying is the next film?
Yeah, that's it.
Anthony's pants. There we go. Yeah.
Exactly. So I did.
I prefer that. Anthony's pants is very good.
It was really nice to see her have some depth to her.
Yeah.
It was a real shame that we didn't see anything from Hope, like really, which was, again, they could have easily added a bit more character work to her, and they didn't. And again, this isn't like they weren't short on time here, although admittedly it probably cost a fortune per minute from the CGI. But they, it wasn't like this was a massive thing. It could have cut and tweaked it and then said, hey, I've got a more character driven plot with action when we need it, that sets us up. And I think maybe it was my problem to try and expect that. Maybe I shouldn't have, and I should have just said, no, it's Marvel action, just go with it, don't worry too much about the characters, try and fill in any gaps, just enjoy it. And I think maybe that would have been better.
Bobby, you were quite taken by Michelle Pfeiffer in this film, weren't you?
Well, yeah.
You said she looked younger and prettier than Hope.
She does, yeah. She looks younger than Evangeline Lilly, weirdly, and there's 20 years between them.
Yes.
I think that's because Evangeline Lilly's got a terrible haircut in this film, that's why.
What's wrong with the haircut? I don't understand.
It's not a great haircut.
It's not a great haircut.
I know, but if you put the same haircut on Michelle Pfeiffer, I think she'd look better. Anyway.
It's like a really thin black bob.
Yeah.
But like without a fringe, but it's like it highlights that her hair's really thin a bit, and that just makes her really stern, and that there's no chemistry between them and
no.
Anyway, but it was just made it worse.
Yeah, her hair's terrible in the film, but anyway.
Bobby, any other actors that you appreciate in this film?
Paul Rudd was good as ever. It was really nice to see William Jackson Harper in this film,
Yeah, that's
although
true.
I did feel he's a very good actor, but I did feel it was just basically Chidi had somehow transported himself from the good place into the quantum realm because he was,
Telepath Chidi.
yeah, telepath Chidi, exactly. I mean, Michael Douglas, the returning cast were all great. Jonathan Majors, obviously, he's a very good actor. I haven't seen him in anything else apart from Loki.
He's in Creed 3, isn't he, coming up soon?
Yeah, and do you know what? I still haven't seen Creed 2. I need to do that. I started watching Rocky versus Drago today. You know, the recut version that Stallone's released with the remaster and everything? They cut out all the robot rubbish from the beginning and all of that. So it's a much shorter film. But anyway, it's worth a go, definitely. Anyway, sorry, I digress. Catherine Newton, I didn't know that she was in it. And her coming in, replacing... Oh, is it Emily Furman who played Cassie before?
Furman, yeah.
She, I know... When she didn't get the call back for this, Furman was really disappointed. I don't know why they went with Catherine Newton. In terms of age, closeness to the actual character, Furman would have been the perfect choice. But anyway,
well, she looked more like them as well. Furman looks more like a blend of Paul Rudd and Evangeline Lilly anyway.
Evangeline Lilly's character is not her actual mum, is she?
No, it's her stepdaughter.
No.
Yeah.
That's true. That is a good point.
But anyway, I don't. Catherine Newton, I thought she did a fine job for what she was given. I really liked the interaction between her and MODOK towards the end, where she's like. You're such a dick.
MODOK, we haven't talked about MODOK yet.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, that was the thing. So Corey Stoll coming back as MODOK was kind of great, but he just looked really weird. The CGI on that was just... I don't know. It's like they...
It was like... Do you know what it was like, Bobby? Like sometimes at school, the kids are putting photographs into their work in Word. And you know how they do it? They get a picture and they accidentally stretch it one way and leave it and think that's fine. It looked like one of those kids.
He looks like Word. Games Master from the 90s.
Yes. Yeah, he's Patrick, what's his face?
Yeah, Patrick Moore.
Patrick
Moore from Games Master.
Yeah. But I think,
older viewers can Google that.
But I thought Corey Stoll's voice acting was really good, but I don't know much about MODOK, but the way they did it,
Mark does.
We haven't got all night for Mark to give the encyclopedic history of MODOK.
No, sorry.
But that was the one thing that actually took me out of the film completely. And it was just a really weird choice. I mean, when he was actually in the seat, when the helmet was sort of over, that bit was fine. It was when they sort of unveiled him, I don't know, it was just like they were trying to figure it out, and then they were like, do you know what, that'll do because we've got a deadline to meet, just let it go.
We'll just get the kids to stretch it in Word, put it on the front. Yeah. Good idea.
And Bill Murray,
there we go.
But Bill Murray, I love Bill Murray so much, big part of all of our childhoods, Ghostbusters and everything else, Saturday Night Live, all of that. But again, Bill Murray's Bill Murray. There's no escapism with him when he pops up in a film like this. It's like I'm watching Bill Murray. So yeah.
He phoned it in, didn't he?
Yeah, obviously he was getting... I mean, he agreed to be in this just because of the director, because he's not a fan of superhero movies, and he never ever wanted to be in one. But he was a fan of Peyton Reed, the director, particularly of one of my favourite comedies from the early 2000s, Bring It On, the cheerleading comedy with Eliza Dushku.
Kirsten Dunst.
My favourite Slayer. Buffy season 3. Anyway, sorry. Yeah, but everyone did a fine job. It was there was no one that did a bad job with what they were given. I don't know who voiced the little blob, but the little blob was probably my favourite thing out of all of this, with the holes.
I do know who voiced him. The actor was David. I'm going to kill his
Oh, the
surname.
spotted guy
Oh,
from
that's
Suicide Squad.
Yes.
the guy from
Yes, David
Suicide
Darnell.
Squad.
Desmalkian.
Yes.
David Desmalkian, yeah.
Who is also in the first 2 Ant-Man movies, who plays the Russian the Russian thief, along
That's
with
right.
Kurt.
Michael Pena, who's not in this one. So yes, but they got him back to do a voice. So yes.
David worked as a professional fisherman in Alaska, a circus performer, movie theatre usher, and playwright. There you go.
And now he's voicing Blob.
Yeah, he was kind of like what's the craggy character in Thor that Waikiki Waititi speaks?
Korg.
Oh, Korg.
Korg.
Yeah,
Korg.
he's a bit like that,
He kind of
wasn't
reminded
he?
me of Korg. They had the same vibe to it.
Yeah.
I did
Mark,
get a
were there
lot
any
of...
actors
There was a
just-
couple of
that you-
cool. Sorry, can I just mention a couple of
No,
the
go on.
cameos?
Yeah.
So Randall Park coming back
Sure,
as
yeah.
Jimmy Woo, the FBI agent,
Jimmy
Yeah.
Woo,
the
yeah.
other movies, and then I don't know if you guys are into Eels, the rock band, but Mark Everett, who's the front man, he was the guy that asked Scott for a picture of his dog. Picture of Scott with his dog. He was the Eels front man.
Yeah.
Eels is
I didn't
such a
spot
great
that.
band. So yeah, there you go. And then obviously we saw Tom Hiddleston, Owen Wilson in the last end credits scene as well, linking. I think this is the first Marvel movie to link into one of the shows.
Yeah.
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 Anyway, there we go.
Mark, were there any actors or any performances that stood out for you?
Yeah, I've just got a few things. So, first of all, Jonathan Majors, yes, really good actor. I really like him. Given what he was given, he did very well. Again, this isn't his fault, but can we please see villains actually being villainous, please? Instead we're told how bad they are.
Do you want some more moustache twirling? Is that what you're saying, or do you want
Well,
the actual act?
no, I want him
doing
to
the bad stuff?
I want him to do something bad. Like, we got a flashback of him sort of killing some random people, but he doesn't do anything particularly bad in this. Like, he's not the bad guy. I want, this film definitely suffers from not making him threatened enough and not killing off some people. For him to be threatening, I think, and the new threat, he's got to kill some people. I mean, I think maybe they didn't kill anyone on this because they've got Guardians coming up, which some of the cast are going to go, and that's well known. So maybe they stopped it there, but you've got to make your villain be villainous, And it's the same problem with Thor, Love and Thunder. A lot of problems with that film, but again, it's supposed to be Gore the God Butcher, right? He doesn't kill anyone in that film. He kills one god at the very start. You don't ever see him do anything bad.
I think, Mark, going back to what Alex and Bob were saying, it's really a film pitched at families to make more money, isn't it?
Yeah, it
they can't
is.
do too much of the
No.
mature themes, unfortunately.
No, but you've got to make him menacing, and you've got to make him like if he's the new bad. Like we talk about Thanos, right? First time we really saw Thanos in a film was at the start of Infinity War, and what's he do? He beats up Thor, he beats up Hulk, and he kills Loki. Now, obviously, you can't do all that in this film. I understand that as well, but you could. Like a couple of actors could have made the ultimate sacrifice. You could have made it a bit more, so he's a bit, or even had like Kang win at the end. I think making him lose at the end sort of like makes him less of a
Did he
threat
lose,
already.
though?
Well,
Did he lose?
he didn't get out, did he?
No, but if you remember the epilogue with all the
Well, yeah,
thousands
he's
of
won.
Kangs
Yeah.
going, whoa, let's go to war. Has he really lost?
Well, all right.
So,
Well, he didn't win.
Alex has
did
a
he?
few
So-
suggestions to solve this problem. Alex,
Well, Alex.
Well, I don't want to steal your thunder, but like for me, it would be Scott Lang looks as if he's been killed, so he goes into this machine at the same time. There is something that indicates that they may not be dead, but then they're irretrievable for whatever reason.
you mean the same machine that Kang got sucked into?
Yeah.
Okay.
So they could easily have done that. That would have given us something really worth us going, oh well, he's probably not dead, is he? But we wouldn't have had the confirmation. Hope could have come into the quantum realm and then realised that he's not there anymore. And so again, that gives her a purpose. and like for me, that would have instantly given this some stakes.
Also, they'd want to watch, make you're then getting the audience intrigued enough to want to watch the next film to find out.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's like you could have easily done that, and it wouldn't have broken anything. Like I understand why they wanted to top and tail it with this thing, but the thing is, you didn't have to, because it could have been finished with Cassie, and Cassie could have, said like, I've got all these plans, but now I've got another task to do, which is to find my dad and help my mum. And it wouldn't have, it would have still shown an arc and growth. But the thing is, if you're building up this massive arc, you've got to start having consequences in the films, because if you don't, it's not really an arc, is it? It's just
there's no tension. There's no tension.
The fact that they introduced MODOK and then killed him, they could have kept him around, maybe with him sort of, like not shooting Cassie, and they could have been like, okay, well, maybe he is okay, and then, so there's tons of stuff they could have done with it that wouldn't have broken the whole path, but would have just left things open in a way that was interesting. And I think the fact that he didn't do that, they didn't do that at all. Like, even for Paul Rudd staying and saying, I have to lose, but then not actually losing, that was, for me, that was it. There was no stakes.
Bit of a letdown. Bobby has something to say.
Actually, just tagging on, I was going to say something else, but I just want to tag on to Alex's point there about, you don't have to win, we just both have to lose. And in that moment, my heart dropped, but it was an emotional thing. It was like, oh my God, he's going to sacrifice himself. Makes sense. And then it didn't happen, right? So that moment, that emotional gravitas, it was then just ripped away from you. But I kind of get the feeling, because I was looking at the roster of films and looking at the 8 before Endgame running up to it, and then we've had 8 films since Endgame. And the 8 films that we've had since Endgame are Spider-Man Far From Home, which was, whatever. Black Widow, whatever. Shang-Chi, different, but the ending was again a bit sort of monster mash. Eternals, I still haven't seen past the first 20 minutes of that crap. Spider-Man No Way Home, fantastic, but I don't know if you took away the reunion of the 3 Spider-Mans, would it be as good? Don't know. I might have to go watch it again. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, I actually did enjoy that, but I love Sam Raimi.
Yeah.
Thor Love and Thunder, okay, even I'll admit, despite Natalie Portman, it was probably the worst Thor film. Ant-Man and the Wasp, we've just said, is meh. And then you go the 8 films leading up to Endgame, and you've got Captain Marvel was great, Ant-Man and the Wasp, okay, Avengers Infinity War, one of the best superhero movies of all time, Black Panther, one of the best superhero movies of all time, Thor Ragnarok, one of the most fun entries in the entire series, absolutely brilliant. Spider-Man Homecoming was great, and I think, Doctor Strange and Guardians of the Galaxy 2, which were both good. I just feel like since they've opened up this multiverse, it's allowed them to take risks if you want to look at it from one point of view, but from another, it's allowed them to be lazy, because if they screw up, they could just retcon everything in the next film. Right? So, and this one's not exactly doing great guns at the box office compared to some of the biggest hits.
Alex.
Sorry, I'm not going to steal Alex's thunder. I know the number, but go ahead.
Let Alex do his box office update. Bobby, you make some very good points.
I want a thing next time. Why Alex has got a job?
We'll let you have a thing.
His geeky, I'm the Marvel keeper of the encyclopedia. I don't have a thing.
Well, I would say at the moment your thing has been, I think, the most insightful comments about the film, actually, Bobby. You got me really thinking. Because, I mean, I
am
do
the
think...
interrupter of thoughts.
You are.
Like MODOK's sidekick. I do think that Marvel fans right now have a bit of existential crisis going on here, because it's not quite ever hit that peak of Endgame and Infinity War. Although they're probably still taking lots of money.
But it doesn't have to be that, though, does it?
I just think, I personally think at the moment, I'm more excited about the TV series than the films that have been post Endgame and Infinity War. And I think that's because, and we said this before, you've got more time to explore the characters. And the Marvel were so good leading up to the Endgame because they spent so much time digging down into all the characters, so that when there was tension and death at the end, people were crying in the cinemas. Apart from perhaps Wakanda Forever, because I thought that was quite moving at points, there's not really been any catharsis in the films following End War, which is a shame. So, Alex, do you have any figures for us currently?
Oh, can I just talk? Oh, sorry.
Go on, Mark, you go.
Sorry, I didn't just finish about on the characters. I just wanted to complain about Catherine Newton as Cassie. Sorry. And actually, it's probably not the actress's fault. I'm sure she's a very nice actress. She's given some really terrible dialogue to talk about. But again, I just can't. Like, why are Marvel making annoying female characters all the time? It's really, really frustrating me. Like, she says to, like, Paul Rudd, right? So at the start, he's like, he's one of the people responsible for saving half the world, right? And she says, but what have you done since then, Dad? Like, and maybe that's an annoying teenager thing. I don't know. But, like, I was just like, sorry, like, your father has seen amazing things. He's helped bring back half of the half of the universe, and you're, like, moaning at him for not doing a lot or for doing a book tour. I just found that really quite grating. And maybe it's me being a miserable old git, I don't know. But I just thought that was just really lazy, like, plotting. And, like, what have you done since then, Dad? You saved the world.
You should try having a teenage daughter.
This is it. I don't have a teenage daughter, so maybe I'm going at this the wrong angle. But I did find that a bit annoying. And also what frustrated me as well is that they sort of have a go at Scott for, like, not doing much since saving the world or the universe, and doing a book tour. Michelle Pfeiffer doesn't talk about Kang for 30 odd years, doesn't tell them there's this evil guy down there. But she's forgiven like that. She has, like, oh, yeah, don't worry about it. With Janet, it's all right. It's okay, don't worry. It's not your fault.
Do you find Janet a threatening character, Mark?
I don't find... No, I love Michelle Pfeiffer. It's great. It's just... But there just doesn't seem to be, like...
Can you see there's going to be an epilogue at the end of this podcast episode if we have a visual version, and there will be all the different multiverse versions of Mark saying, like the Marvel's writing of female characters is affecting our universe. Let's go to war. Sorry.
No. It's not about that. It's just like, I just feel that the women can get. There's no consequences to their actions, and it should be.
Do you think perhaps that girls watching this film quite appreciate the stronger female characters in the film,
which is
compared
fine,
to
and that's
the damsels in distress for films sort of 20, 30 years ago?
Absolutely, and no one wants damsels in distress all the time because that's boring. Yeah. Been there and done that, right? And we've had, like, our generation had Ripley, and we had Sarah Connor, and that, so that's not a particularly, like, new thing as well. It's fine, but like it's okay for people to have faults, right? But, like, again, like, Catherine invents this subatomic thing that lets them communicate in the quantum verse, right? And she does it in her garage, right? Like she's MacGyver. And again, Black Panther's the same thing, right?
MacGyver, you mean? Surely.
No, right, okay. Oh, yeah, fine, okay. But again, Black Panther,
Mark,
right?
Can I, before I lose the thought,
yeah,
because I just thought, actually, I agree with you, because they're really taking... I think it's just lazy writing, because you've got suddenly all these female characters that they're trying to empower and make them look like they're not damsels in distress, but they're giving them the same skill set. You've got Riri Williams, who's been introduced as another tech genius. Then obviously with Cassie, tech genius. Well. I'm sure there was another one, tech genius.
Showery.
The actual breath of fresh air.
T'Challa's brother.
Who? Shuri.
T'Challa's
No,
sister,
but
sorry.
Shuri, she was technically quite brilliant
She's
in the
tech
comics,
genius as
wasn't
well.
she?
Yeah.
You know, the only female character that's been introduced lately has been Haley Steinfeld's character in Hawkeye, and she was just a breath of fresh air because she was
very good.
Yeah, she was a girl who was really good at archery that just wanted to do some good in the world, you know? I really liked Hawkeye, actually.
Again, your insightful intrusion there has really worked out because you've proved a very good point there and helped Mark out. I agree with you, Mark. I think one of the big problems with this film in general is I think the writing was pretty poor for every character.
Yeah, and by the way,
and that is the issue, really.
Yeah, and
I don't think you need to be annoyed by any particular gender. I think generally
this isn't a
the writing
sexism
every
thing
character
at all, and this isn't about because I love female characters. So I talked about Ripley's one of my favourite evers. You know, I'm just saying that the way they write them, I don't think is actually helping females or girls watching it as well. The fact that the girls can't seem to do any wrong, and again, this isn't to criticise them, but you know, you have to have a balance of good and bad. You know, if you don't learn from your mistakes, then you don't improve. You know, I like Tony Stark. All right, he made like weapons. He was a warmonger. All right, gets injured, sees the error of his ways. Right, it's one arc. Right, on one of the characters, and you can do that for those different characters. Right, you have to go. The point of a hero is they have to go through a personal Spider-Man. Right, he lets his uncle Killer go right before he kills him. He lets him go. He could have stopped it, but he doesn't. That's his penance, and that's why he's Spider-Man, right? And again, I just feel like you have to have, like, to be a hero or to do something heroic, you either have to learn from your mistakes, or you have to have like a weakness, or you have to go through a trauma. Like Batman.
I agree with you, Mark.
You know,
any character that does not have flaws is uninteresting.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. That's my point.
Interesting.
And
perhaps,
and the reason why is because we're all screwed up.
That will change.
We're all flawed, and you need to be able to see some of that humanity in the person on screen. They can't just be an all conquering all. I mean, even Superman, who for some people is one of the least sympathetic villains because he's heroes because he's so indestructible. And he really doesn't have many weaknesses unless you chuck green rocks at him from his home planet. But, you know, he still has, you know, he's got to deal with loss of his parents, you know, not having known them, growing up in an adopted family, you know, having to wear NHS spectacles, all the rest of it. You know, so there is some level that you can sort of identify. There's a humanity there at some level, but yeah, when they're just kind of just tossing out oh my god, I can't wait for Deadpool and the Wolverine. Jeez, please, that film can't come along soon enough. That'll be the film that saves Marvel.
Yeah, well, it might be or it might not.
No,
but I think part of it is that they're setting up the Young Avengers. Okay, so you've got lots of empowered young women who are being introduced. The problem is they're not really being introduced very well. They're like tacked on to the side of lots of different films, so they haven't really got space for the character arc. It's a pity that Cassie, they didn't develop it further, because really, you know, this is one of the films where she should have had more development in her character, because actually you've got the opportunities right there. You know, you've got an estranged relationship with your dad. You've got the fact that you've been in prison because you're an activist. You've also got the fact that you're really clever, but you know you don't really know where to aim for that, and you've created this quantum stuff. So there's tons of work there, but I think the problem was they're jammed into a film that's trying to do too much, and I think that's the big problem. Now, what I'm really hoping is that they have a Young Avengers film which has enough space to allow them to show their growth and to show their strengths and weaknesses. I really hope that that's coming, because if it's not, it's going to be super disappointing if they just
are doing that.
Yeah. So that's that's what it desperately needs. You know, Miss Marvel was actually really enjoyable. And we got an opportunity to see some of her, but obviously it's just the origin part of her story, so she hasn't really worked out what to do. But everyone really needs that length of introduction, and some of them just haven't. I mean, Ironheart was just whacked straight in, to Wakanda when there was no need for it really, but it was there to serve this longer term purpose. But the problem is you haven't whet anyone's appetite. All you've done is introduced people in a really shallow way. And so
they're like stamping emojis onto a message, aren't they? Almost.
Yeah. It's just like a tick. We've done that thing that's in the comics. Then if you know, you know. But the problem is that people don't know. And we haven't really introduced it properly. The same is true of Kang. Like, yes, we've had a lot of exposition scenes, but the reality is we've not actually seen very much, and all we've really heard is him saying, hey, in this one, hey, the others are really bad. And then in Loki, it was like, almost like a school teacher just going, I'm the best one of them, and this is how I did it this way. And it's just like we're not seeing the destruction, we're not seeing the danger that they pose. Instead, we're just being told it.
Yeah.
So,
and I think you do a disservice to the actors there as well.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure the actress who plays Cassie, Catherine, what was her name? Catherine.
Newton.
Yeah,
Newton.
I'm sure there's a reason she got the job, right? I'm sure she's a very good actress. I've not seen her anything else. I'm sure she's very good, but she's obviously working with material that she's been given,
I think they cast her.
Williams. I'm sure
I think they cast her because of, perhaps because of how they see her fitting into the Young Avengers, rather than for this role.
Yeah.
And again, there's quite a lot of that right now, and it feels like we're getting only half the picture, but we're not getting the good half. We're getting the bad half.
So in terms of setting up for this Young Avengers, so coming up in May, we've got Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. In November, we've got the Marvels. May next year, we've got Captain America New World Order. Mm-hmm. We've got the Thunderbolts in July next year. Next September is Blade. November next year is Deadpool 3. And then the following year, 2025, we have Fantastic Four. May 2025 is Avengers: The Kang Dynasty. So we're not going to see an end to this Kang storyline, or even then, maybe it's just the beginning of the storyline, really.
Yeah.
Until 2 years away.
We've got Loki season 2 as well.
Which he'll be in that as well.
There's the Secret Invasions, the TV series. Yeah. They've also got they're guessing. We're into the guessing area now, but we think Armor Wars will be in November of 25, and eventually 2026 will be Avengers: Secret Wars. Yes. I can't see any Young Avengers in there though, unless it's a TV series.
There were a couple of mystery ones.
Yeah, I think they'll try and slot it in somewhere.
I think they may end up doing the Young Avengers as a Disney Plus series rather than as an actual film.
I could also see him doing Young Avengers maybe after Secret Wars as well. I think they may, although apparently the Blade film has got some creative differences at the moment. They're having a bit of trouble with Blade at the moment, so they might put Young Avengers. They might shift it up a bit as well. It would
align well with Armor Wars because
it would.
The thing is, then you've got going off into one direction, and then you've got them coming at the other side. So I don't know, but there's all these possibilities, and like we can. If you looked into it, you kind of see the direction they're heading. But the problem is they've not actually told you that direction they're heading, and they've not done a great job of like showing or teasing or anything like that. And that's why we're frustrated. It's like we don't need to know the ultimate destination, but we need to know is this is setting up for this. This is setting up for that. Oh, I see. That's how they're doing. For now, all we've got is like a post-credit scene for the Council of Kangs that kind of alludes to something but doesn't really tell us. That is quite Marvel, but I just feel like they could do better than that because they've got all of the story to do.
I mean, I found the post-credit scene with Loki even more intriguing, personally.
Yes,
because that's obviously setting up for the next series.
It's just a trailer for season 2, isn't it? Basically?
Yeah, I thought. So I think we're going to finish off. I'd like to just summarise who we've got so far in the Young Avengers. We've got Kate Bishop as Hawkeye. We've got Cassie Lang.
Yeah.
It's likely she's going to be Stature, the character Stature in that. You've got Elijah Bradley, who's Patriot, who was the son of that other experimental Captain America, wasn't he? You've got Tommy and Billa, who are Wiccan and Speed. They're the sons of
Wanda.
Of the Scarlet Witch. You've got Miss America Chavez, who was the universe hopper. You've got Kid Loki, who I think was one of the Lokis in the
Yeah.
TV series when he went into that void. And then you've got Iron Lad, who is he's Richard's son, isn't he?
No, I don't know what they. Well, see, Iron Lad goes into Kang. You see, so that's so.
Yeah.
It's hard to talk about Iron Lad without spoiling Kang. That's the only thing with that.
Well, he's a
as well.
superhero from the 31st century who travels back in time to prevent himself becoming Kang.
Yes, but he
Yeah,
do-
he might be
yeah,
an ally.
but he
of
does.
them,
You've got
right,
Miss
yeah.
Marvel, Kamala Khan.
Yeah, she'll be in it as well.
You've got Riri, who's Ironheart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've got Mars Morales, so they're going to bring him in from the Spider-Verse, I presume.
I don't think you'll see him until after Secret Wars. I don't think he'll be in the other
won't.
Avengers. No.
You've got Axel and Love, which are, Idris Elba's character. He was a gatekeeper in Thor. I think it's his
It's
son.
his son. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, you've got... and
I
then maybe...
don't think they'll do them all. I think.
Well, maybe they'll... And then the theory is that Vision might be their mentor.
Yes.
Yeah,
team
that would make
after
sense.
them.
I think they might do 6. I think.
Yeah.
If you ask me, that sounds quite interesting.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
It's quite an interesting cast. And then obviously what Marvel will do going into 2030 and milking that cash cow as much as they can. As those actors get older, they'll have a new Avengers team, won't they, basically,
Yeah.
eventually?
Don't forget Hulk's son.
Yeah.
I'm trying
It's all
to.
going on. It's all going on, isn't it?
The Hulkling is what it was named, apparently.
No,
Or
Hulkling
is that
is
someone else?
that's someone else. Scar is his son from
Scar,
the planet
that's it.
Hulk. Yeah.
Hold on, that's the Lion King, isn't it?
Yeah. Hulkling is something else, which I won't go into
Oh,
now,
okay.
but it's
All right.
different, maybe. Yeah.
I think we need to wrap up, chaps.
Yeah, I agree.
Do we have any finishing comments about Ant-Man and Quantumania? First of all, if you've not seen it, would you recommend people go to see it if they are generally Marvel fans, or even just Joe off the street? Would you recommend them to go and see it in a cinema, or wait for it on TV at Disney Plus? Mark,
I would wait for it for Disney Plus, and I'd keep watching the Flash trailer and watch Cocaine Bear on Friday, like I'm going to as well at the cinema.
okay. Bobby, how about you? What's your opinion? Watch it at cinema or watch it at home?
Mark, you know the Cocaine Bear thing, the real actual story ended about 30 seconds when that shipment dropped and the Cocaine Bear did its cocaine. It died like right away.
Yeah, but it's still a bear doing cocaine.
Anyway, I would recommend see it in the cinema on the biggest screen you can, because it is a visual spectacle and you get to see all that lovely hard work where it should be seen. So yeah, I'd recommend see it in the cinema. And also because it's the start of Phase 5, so for the completists, that's the other part of the reason that I had to go and see it, is for completism. And speaking of that, I need to go and watch the other 2 hours of Eternals at some point. Put myself through that.
Have a drink.
Bobby, I tell you
before
what,
you
Bobby.
do.
I tell you what,
Have
Bobby.
some cocaine before you watch it.
No, here's a plan, Bobby. Between now and September, Bobby,
Yeah,
I will come to you.
yeah.
I'll come visit your shop,
Yep.
the tailoring shop, and I'll buy and order and buy a pair of jeans from you.
Yeah.
And then we'll sit down with a bottle of whiskey and we'll watch Eternals together.
Yeah, let's do it in the
That's
pub
a
next
good
door.
You're going to need about 10 bottles of whiskey for that one, boys. There we go. Good luck with that.
Alex, watch at cinema or watch at home?
So, I would watch at home.
Yep.
I would also say that, like, we're being quite harsh. The critics were quite harsh on this. But the audience, according to Rotten Tomatoes, rates it at 84%.
So it's 48%.
It's 48 is the tomato meter, so that's the critics.
Yeah.
And I think ultimately, like, critics are not going to like this. I think audience are probably going to be more accepting of this.
How
But
much
we've also-
has it taken so far, Alex?
So it's actually not damn bad. So it's currently, pardon me, 276 million
That's
worldwide.
not bad, is it?
And we've got to put this into context. So February is a quiet month, so it's actually done okay. It's just you can't expect it to be like a summer blockbuster because it's not. So actually, they've done all right. It's just it was never going to be as high as people wanted it to be.
Yeah, but it cost 200. It cost 200 million to make, and that's without marketing costs as well.
This is only a week in, so it won't.
Yeah,
it
and
won't,
they'll make money on the Disney Plus subscription.
Yeah, it
as well,
won't
won't they?
lose money. It just won't be a massive spinner. It'll be successful enough, just not as good as it could have been.
Okay,
No
I've got
Avatar.
it. I've got it worldwide. It's just gone over 400 mil.
Was it?
okay.
Where was your source?
So nearly half a billion is not
some
bad for
economists,
a fairly okay film.
Oh, I'm using Wikipedia.
Yeah,
Bobby
well.
can't answer this. Next question. This is the final question before we wrap up. All right. If you had to tell a friend to go and see a film, they're going to see one film, would you tell them to go and see Ant-Man Quantumania, or would you tell them to go and see Avatar 2: The Way of the Water? Mark?
Completely depends how good their bladder is. If they've got a good bladder, Avatar. If they haven't got a good bladder, Avatar 2. If they've got good. Let me get that right. Sorry, let's start again. 1, 2, 3. Completely depends on their bladder. If they've got a good bladder.
I'm not going to edit this out, Mark.
Are you gonna edit
Just
it
keep
out?
talking,
Oh, I'm trying to
mate.
be-
It's much more funny to hear you struggle like this.
I
Keep
was
going.
just
Keep
trying to
going.
be
Come on.
professional. There we go. If you've got,
Professional?
Why are you trying
Well-
to be professional? Oh,
This is not tailoring talk, you know.
It'll make a change. If you've got a good
God, he
bladder, go and
hasn't
see
been on
Avatar
tailoring
2.
talk yet. We're almost 2 or 3 films away from Dalton. I think he's. Are you joining us for Dalton? Or are you waiting for Brosnan?
it's coming.
I'm happy to do Live and Let Die. Actually, no, don't Live and Let Die. I
A View
mean,
to a Kill.
A View to a Kill. Yeah, I'm happy to do
Okay,
A View to a
look,
Kill.
we
know,
need to get
Mark, that
Octopussy out the way
we have
next
to wear
week, and
suits
then
on
next
Bobby's
month,
podcast.
Okay.
April,
Right.
Mark joins.
Right.
Mark comes home.
Okay.
Do you like that one?
Mark, so you know, we dress up for Bobby's podcast, so you have to be suited and booted.
Fine by me. That's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
In answer to your question, watch both on Disney Plus. There we go.
Okay, and I'm on Bobby's side here. I always advocate for going to see a film at cinema first, because it's the sound, and no matter how good your TV is, and I know Alex's TV is very good, but the sound experience and supporting the creators definitely. You can find myself at John PR Evans at Masterton.social. Alex, what's your Masterton tag these days?
Alex Hansford at twit.social.
Okay, and I think Mark is still avoiding the socials.
I am.
Bobby, you still on Twitter, aren't you?
I don't use Twitter that much, so if you do want to find me, you can find me on Instagram at Roberto Revilla London. And I'm now really getting into Reels, so there's lots of really cool stuff to look at. And you can also find me on YouTube as well. Just search Roberto Revilla.
There you go.
I subscribed. I enjoyed it. It's good.
Oh, you subscribe. Well done. There you go. You can find our Twitter account for Play Pause Turn at Play Pause Turn.
Oh, you've got a Twitter
Might be worth
account?
getting a Masterton account for that, Alex, as well. at some point.
Yeah, we don't have one. We do have a YouTube though. No one
Yeah.
watches it, but we
Have
have
we?
a YouTube.
We've got YouTube
Yeah,
as
The
well.
thing is, some people like to have a podcast on the TV. So
With our faces.
no, I would have told you if I'd have done that. I won't put you through that
Yeah.
now.
I need to go on YouTube
We'll talk about
and find us. There we go.
And you can hear the audio if you want to stream it through a webpage at playpauseturn.show.
it. Yes.
Thank you very much. It's good to chat to you again, gentlemen. This has been Play Pause Turn, and thank you for listening.